planet was marrying the enemy. Captain Silas Dre thought the war was over when he defeated the alien general, but instead, he triggered an ancient law that made him the chosen ruler and future husband to an alien princess. With Earth's fate hanging by a thread and impossible trials ahead, one man must decide between freedom and sacrifice, love and duty. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and show some love with a thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's dive into this powerful and unforgettable story. Captain Silas Dre stood at the edge of the battlefield, his breath ragged beneath the cracked visor of his helmet. The ground beneath him was blackened and broken, still smoking from the final blasts of the war. All around him, silence reigned, broken only by the occasional crackle of energy from the ruins of alien weapons. The sky above the planet Orion had turned an eerie orange, heavy with smoke and ash. The once glorious alien city behind him now looked like the bones of a fallen beast, but he was still standing. Somehow, against all odds, Silas had survived. His armor was scratched and scorched, his body aching. But he had done what no other human had. He had led the final charge against the alien commander, and lived to tell the tale. Earth's enemies had been defeated, or so he thought. A low groan made Silas spin around, plasma blade ready. A large figure knelt among the rubble. General Thareen, the leader of the alien forces, was still alive. His golden armor was shattered, and blood ran down his side, but he was smiling. Not with malice, not in pain, but with a calm, unsettling satisfaction. Silas narrowed his eyes. "Why are you smiling? You lost." Thareen raised his head, eyes glowing faintly red through the dust. "Did I? Or did I win something greater?" Silas felt a cold knot tighten in his chest. "What are you talking about?" "You have done more than defeat me, human. You have fulfilled an ancient law," Thareen said, his voice calm despite his wounds. "A law written before your world even knew our name." The captain took a step back, gripping his weapon tighter. "I don't care about your laws. I came here to end a war, not join your politics." "But by ending the war, you have started something else," Thareen said, rising slowly to his feet. Though wounded, his tall frame still towered over Silas. "According to our customs, the one who defeats the ruling general becomes the next heir, and more importantly, must unite with the House of Command." Silas blinked. "Wait, what are you saying?" "You are to marry my daughter," Thareen replied, as if announcing the weather. Silas stared in disbelief. What? No, absolutely not. That's insane." "It is law," Thareen said simply. "To refuse the bond is to declare disrespect. Our people will not accept that. They will rise again, and this time they will not stop at peace talks. They will burn Earth to ash." Silas felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. He had barely survived the battle, and now he was being dragged into a new kind of war, one of customs, alliances, and politics. "I don't even know your daughter," he muttered. "You will," said Thareen. Soon, the ground beneath them suddenly began to glow, circular patterns of alien language spinning beneath Silas's feet. He tried to move, but his boots stuck in place. A sharp hum filled the air as energy built around him. "What is this?" he shouted. "What's happening?" "The portal," Thareen said, stepping back. "It has chosen you. You will go to our world now. To your future." "No." Silas raised his blade and slashed at the glowing symbols, but it passed through the light like smoke. The energy pulsed brighter, wrapping around him in blinding waves. His body felt like it was being pulled in every direction. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. Silas stumbled forward onto smooth, shining silver tiles. He blinked, trying to steady himself. The battlefield was gone. The sky of Orion had disappeared. He was now in a massive hall with ceilings, so high he couldn't see where they ended. Crystals floated above, glowing softly, casting blue light across polished floors that reflected his stunned expression. Before him stood a figure. She was tall and graceful, wearing armor that shimmered, with intricate gold patterns. Her hair was long and silver, flowing behind her like silk in water. Her green eyes were sharp and cold as they studied him. "You're the human who defeated my father," she said. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of command. I didn't mean to get involved in this," Silas said, his voice low. "I just wanted to protect my planet." She crossed her arms, unmoved. "By defeating our leader, you have invoked the right of unity. You are now bound to me by law." "This is madness," he replied. "I'm not marrying someone I don't know." "This is not about love," she said plainly. "It is about honor and peace. If you refuse, my people will return to war." Silas felt a chill run through him. He had already given everything to stop this war. Now, peace itself was tied to a decision he hadn't asked for. He looked at her, this woman who was both a stranger and the key to peace, and saw the same burden in her eyes. She wasn't happy either. She was doing what was needed. She turned to leave. "You have until the next moonrise to decide," she said. "Choose wisely, human." Silas stood in silence as she disappeared through a golden doorway. He was alone in this world, a soldier pulled into a role he never wanted. He had won the war, but the real battle was just beginning. Captain Silas Dray stood frozen in the middle of the grand hall, his heart still pounding from the sudden journey. Everything around him shimmered with quiet beauty. The walls were made of silver stone, carved with swirling designs that pulsed gently with soft light. Floating crystals above his head glowed in different colors, casting moving patterns across the floor. It should have felt peaceful, but Silas felt anything but calm. This was no victory celebration. It was a place of judgment. His eyes slowly returned to the woman standing before him. Princess Leora. She didn't move, didn't speak at first. Her gaze remained fixed on him, her green eyes sharp as glass. Her silver hair flowed behind her, and the gold markings on her armor seemed to shift with the light. She looked powerful, too powerful to be caught in a situation like this. Yet here she was, tied to the same ancient law that had stolen Silas from the battlefield. "You look confused," she said at last, her voice smooth but cool. Silas gave a dry laugh. "Confused? Try being dragged into a royal marriage because I want to fight. That's not exactly something they prepare you for back on Earth." Leora didn't smile. "This is not a game, Captain Dray. You stand at the edge of two worlds. Your choices will shape their future." Silas looked at her more closely. Her expression was unreadable. She didn't look like someone happy about this arrangement either. "Do you even want this?" he asked. "Do you want to marry a stranger just because a bunch of old laws say so?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned and walked slowly across the hall, her armor clinking softly with each step. Silas hesitated before following her. He didn't know this place, didn't trust it, but he couldn't ignore the weight in her voice. "My people have followed the law of unity for thousands of years," she said as they walked. "It has brought peace in the past and after great wars. They believe in it, deeply. If we break it now, they'll see it as a betrayal." Silas frowned. "And what if I refuse? Are you saying Earth will be attacked again just because I don't want to be your husband?" Leora stopped and turned to face him. "Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying." Silas felt a chill move down his back. "That's not peace. That's blackmail." Leora's jaw tightened. "Call it what you like. It is the only way we know. You think I asked for this? I trained as a warrior, not as a queen, but my father's defeat changes everything. Now I must do what's expected of me." They walked through an arched doorway into a smaller chamber. The walls here were made of smooth crystal, and strange symbols glowed softly across the floor. A wide window showed a breathtaking view of the alien world outside. Twin moons hung low in the sky, casting pale light across endless valleys of blue trees and silver mountains. Silas stared out at the view, trying to take it all in. "It's beautiful," he said quietly. Leora stood beside him, her expression softer now. "It is, and it will be gone if the peace fails. Our people are proud, Silas. They've suffered much. This bond is the only thing holding back another war." Silas looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, he saw more than a royal figure. He saw someone trapped, just like him, bound by expectations and rules she didn't make. "I didn't come here to rule anyone," he said. "I just wanted to protect my home." "I know," she said. "And that is exactly why they believe you are worthy." Silas shook his head. "This isn't what a warrior signs up for." "Sometimes the hardest battles come after the war," Leora said, her voice quiet but firm. Before Silas could respond, a deep tone echoed through the room. Leora turned toward the sound. "The council summons us. They want to see you." "What for?" Silas asked, tension rising in his chest. "To decide if you're truly worthy of this bond," she said. "They will not give their blessing lightly. You must pass their trials. Courage, wisdom, and sacrifice." Silas blinked. "Trials? You didn't mention that before." "It is tradition," she said. "No outsider has ever been chosen before. The trials are the only way to prove your heart, your mind, and your strength." "And if I fail?" he asked. Her eyes darkened. "Then you die, and Earth follows." Silas clenched his fists. Every step forward seemed to open another trap, another impossible choice. But deep down, he knew he couldn't run. Not with so much at stake. Leora led him through another hallway toward the chamber where the council waited. Her steps were steady, but her face showed a hint of something different. Doubt, perhaps, or maybe hope. As they neared the great golden doors of the council chamber, Silas glanced at her. "Why me, Leora? Why not someone from your world?" She stopped and looked up at him. "Because you fought without hate. You risked your life for others. And somehow, in a moment of destruction, you gave us a chance for peace." The doors opened with a low hum. The path ahead was uncertain. But Silas stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. Because peace, real peace, was worth fighting for. Captain Silas Dray stood in the center of the glowing circle, his jaw tight, heart pounding. The chamber around him was silent, except for the low hum of ancient power that pulsed through the floor beneath his feet. The 12 alien elders sat high on their thrones, watching him with glowing eyes. Princess Leora stood nearby, her expression unreadable. She had warned him about the trials, but now that he was here, Silas realized he didn't fully understand what he had agreed to. The elder with golden eyes stood and raised one hand. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. "The trials of honor begin now. Courage, wisdom, sacrifice. You must pass all three to be considered worthy of the bond that holds peace between our worlds." Before Silas could reply, the floor beneath him lit up. Symbols spun in bright patterns, and the air around him shimmered like water. Suddenly the room vanished. He was falling, spinning through light and shadow, until his boots hit solid ground again with a heavy thud. He found himself in a dark, narrow canyon. The sky above was a deep red, and the rocks around him were jagged and sharp. The first trial had begun. Courage. A loud growl echoed through the canyon. Silas turned, gripping his plasma blade tightly. From the shadows came a massive creature with glowing orange eyes and thick, scaly skin. It looked part machine, part beast. Its claws scraped the ground, sending sparks into the air. Silas stood his ground, his muscles tight and ready. The beast charged. Silas dodged, barely avoiding the swinging claws. He rolled to the side, came up fast, and slashed at the creature's leg. It roared in pain, knocking him back with its tail. His shoulder hit the rock wall hard. Dust filled his mouth. He forced himself up, blinking through the pain. The creature turned again, faster this time. This wasn't just about fighting, it was about not giving in to fear. He waited until the beast lunged again, then sprinted straight toward it. At the last moment, he slid beneath its chest and drove his blade deep into its side. The creature screamed and staggered. Silas climbed onto its back and struck again, this time at a glowing mark near its neck. The beast fell with a final roar, and the ground shook beneath it. The canyon began to fade, and once again Silas was lifted into light. When the spinning stopped, he stood in a massive library, with tall glass towers stretching into the sky. Strange books floated through the air, glowing softly. This was the trial of wisdom. An alien child stood before him, no more than 10 years old, with pale blue skin and wide, silent eyes. She said nothing, only pointed to a puzzle of glowing cubes on a table. Symbols moved across them in shifting patterns. Silas stepped forward, confused. "What do I do?" he asked. The girl didn't speak, only watched him carefully. He realized this test was different. It wasn't about strength or speed. It was about thinking, observing, choosing the right path. He studied the cubes. Each one had symbols similar to those he had seen in the palace. After a few minutes, he noticed something. They weren't random. The patterns told a story. He shifted the cubes, slowly forming an image. A circle of peace, a war, then a pair, standing side by side. Suddenly, the girl smiled. The puzzle lit up and the tower around them shook slightly. She took his hand and led him to a door that hadn't been there before. When they stepped through, the world changed again. Silas stood in a wide field under a star-filled sky. The final trial, sacrifice. A glowing pedestal appeared ahead. On it lay a powerful alien artifact, a small orb humming with energy. Leora had mentioned it during their walk. A weapon, she said, strong enough to protect Earth for generations. But beside it, trapped behind a glowing cage, stood the same alien child from before. She looked at him, frightened. A voice echoed from above. "Take the weapon and you return to Earth safe and strong. Leave it, and you may free the child, but your world will be without defense." Silas didn't move for a long moment. This was the worst trial of all. He could imagine Earth's leaders using the weapon to build peace. But how could he take it and leave an innocent behind? His choice came down to power or mercy. He took a breath, turned away from the pedestal and walked to the glowing cage. It pulsed as he touched it, and with a flash of light, it vanished. The girl stepped out, silent but smiling. The weapon disappeared with her release. The stars above shimmered brighter. The field faded. Silas opened his eyes to find himself back in the grand chamber. The elders sat silently, their eyes fixed on him. Leora stepped forward, her eyes softer than before. "You passed," she said quietly. "All of them." Silas let out a shaky breath. His body was exhausted, but something in his chest felt lighter. He had done what he thought was right, even if he didn't fully understand the path ahead. The trials were over, but the hardest decision still waited. Captain Silas Dray stood once again before the golden doors of the council chamber. His muscles ached from the trials, and his mind still spun with the images of what he had seen. Beasts, puzzles, choices that cut deeper than any blade. He had survived them all, but he didn't feel like a champion. He felt like someone standing on the edge of something unknown. The doors opened slowly, and he stepped into the chamber for what he hoped would be the last time. The 12 elders were already seated, their glowing eyes fixed on him as he entered. The room was silent, heavy with something unspoken. Princess Leora stood in the center of the circle, tall and composed, her silver hair draped over her shoulder, her armor gleaming in the light. She watched him with calm intensity, though there was a softness in her eyes now, something new that hadn't been there before. Elder Vareth, the one with golden eyes, rose from his throne. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Captain Silas Dray, you have faced the trials of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. You have shown not only strength, but also heart. The trials have judged you. Now the council must offer you a final choice." Silas's throat felt dry, but he nodded. "I'm listening." "The bond between our worlds depends on unity," Vareth continued. "You have earned the right to marry the royal heir, Princess Leora, and become co-ruler of Orion. Through this bond, peace will be guaranteed between our people and yours." Silas glanced at Leora. She stood as still as stone, her face unreadable. Ferreth's voice dropped slightly. But we will not force your hand. If you choose to return to Earth, the marriage will be cancelled and you will go home with honor. No punishment, no shame, but peace will become uncertain once more. Silas felt the weight of every word settle on his shoulders. After all he had endured, the decision was his. He could go home, forget the law, the throne, and the strange beauty of this alien world. Or he could stay, become part of something far bigger than himself, and bind his future to someone he hardly knew. He took a step toward the center of the circle, facing Leora directly. "What about you?" he asked, his voice low. "Do you want this?" Leora hesitated. For the first time, her voice trembled slightly. "I never asked for this, but I will do what is needed for my people." "That's not what I meant," Silas said. "Do you want me?" She looked down for a moment, then back up into his eyes. "I want peace, but after watching you, after everything you've done, I believe you could help lead with honor. Not because you're forced to, but because you choose to." Silas closed his eyes. He thought of Earth, of his team, of everything he had left behind. He imagined the comfort of going home, walking familiar streets, seeing familiar faces. But then he thought of the little girl he had saved during the trial. He thought of Leora's steady strength, the way she carried her people's hopes on her back without complaint. He thought of the silence that followed war, and how fragile peace truly was. When he opened his eyes, he made his choice. "I didn't come here to rule. I came to protect," he said clearly. "But maybe now, protecting means more than holding a weapon. Maybe it means standing by someone strong and helping build something better. I'll stay. I'll marry Leora. Not because I have to, but because I choose to." The chamber remained silent for a long second. Then Elder Vareth nodded. The other elders slowly rose, their robes shining like water under moonlight. One by one they bowed their heads in approval. Leora stepped forward. For the first time, she smiled. Not out of duty, but something warmer, more human. She reached out and took his hand. Her touch was steady and firm. Later that day, in a ceremony under the twin moons of Orion, Silas stood beside her as their worlds came together. Their hands were joined beneath the glowing crystals of the great hall. No speeches were made, no grand promises. Just a shared glance between two people who had faced battles far beyond the battlefield. As they stood before both alien and human delegates, something strange happened. The portal between the two worlds pulsed with light. Not with the angry energy of war, but a quiet, calm glow. The bond had been formed not just through marriage, but through choice, through sacrifice, through hope. And though Silas still had questions about the future, one thing was clear. He wasn't alone in this anymore. Beside him was a woman who had been a stranger only days ago, now his partner in a peace they would fight to protect together. He had come as a warrior, but he remained as something greater, a bridge between two worlds. And the war that had brought him here had turned into something no one had expected, a beginning.